Okay, so let me just read it out. It's, hello, English learner. Welcome to our channel, English Learning Master. Let's start our today's video. And that's it.
Ever feel like new words are just popping up everywhere?
Oh, definitely. Faster than you can sometimes keep track of.
Yeah, it's like language itself is evolving right in front of us. And understanding these new words, it isn't just about, sounding smart.
No, it's more fundamental. It's about really grasping what's happening around us.
And being able to talk about it clearly. So that's our plan today.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a deep dive into 10 essential new English words, the kind you're hearing more and more.
Right, you see them in articles, hear them online, in conversations. They're becoming pretty central.
Exactly. And getting a handle on them should, hopefully, help you understand things better and, well, express yourself more effectively, too.
Absolutely. It opens up richer communication. So where should we start?
Let's kick off with one that's been everywhere lately, especially like in tech talk. Generative.
Ah, yes. Generative. You hear it constantly with AI, don't you?
All the time.
Yeah.
So break it down for us. At its core, what does generative actually mean?
Okay, so think of it as having the power to originate something, to produce something genuinely new.
To originate.
Or create where there wasn't something quite like it before. It's about bringing forth novel outputs.
Okay, originate. That feels key.
Right.
Where does the word itself come from? Does that give us clues?
It does, yeah. It traces back to Latin, the verb generare.
Generare.
Meaning to beget or to produce. And you can see the connection to words like generation. Right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Generation, bringing something into being.
Exactly. And then you add that suffix, elive.
Alive, like active or creative?
Precisely. It signifies having a certain quality or tendency. So generative basically describes something that has this inherent quality of being able to, generate, to produce something new.
That link to generation, that actually makes it click for me. Okay, so how are we seeing this word used, like in the real world?
Oh, it's cropping up in a lot of different fields. Think about generative artists.
Using AI, usually.
Often, yeah. They use algorithms, maybe AI, to create unique art. The AI isn't just, say, applying a filter, it's generating something novel.
Creating it from scratch, kind of.
Right. Or consider the idea of a generative economy.
Okay.
That's an economy focused on fostering innovation, creating new businesses, new opportunities. It's about continuously generating fresh value.
Not just repeating old models.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even in nature, you could talk about the generative power of a seed. It holds the blueprint to generate a whole new plant.
It's that element of newness, then, real novelty being created. So let me check my understanding. A factory mass-producing identical items that wouldn't really be generative in this sense.
Probably not in the way we're discussing it here. Generative really implies that originality, a departure from just repeating or deriving something.
Okay.
Think about some sentence examples, like, the new software has generative capabilities,
Right.
allowing users to design complex graphics with ease. See, it's not just templates, it empowers the generation of new visual ideas.
Okay, I see.
Or maybe the think tank aimed to foster a generative environment for new policy ideas.
Meaning a place where totally new approaches could emerge.
Exactly, where novel ideas are born.
So the emphasis is always on bringing something genuinely new into existence. Are there related words, like words we might confuse it with?
Sure, you have words like creative, productive, innovative.
Okay.
They're definitely related.
But different.
Yeah. Generative specifically highlights that act of origination, bringing something into existence that wasn't quite there before, that initial spark.
Okay. Generative, the power to originate and create. Got it. Makes sense. Now let's shift gears. Let's talk about a word that feels really relevant today. Agile.
Agile. Yes, definitely a buzzword. And fundamentally, it means the ability to move quickly and easily.
Physically, like an athlete.
Yes, that's the literal sense. A nimble athlete is agile. But we're increasingly using it metaphorically, aren't we?
Yeah, like for companies or teams.
Right. Flexible organizations, adaptable strategies, that kind of thing.
Where does agile come from? Does it have old roots?
It does. It goes back to Old French, the word agile, which meant lively or quick.
Lively quick. Okay.
So that sense of being spry, responsive, it's baked right in from the start.
And how are we seeing it used now, especially, say, in business or tech?
Oh, constantly in project management, especially software development. You hear about an agile team.
Right. What does that mean in practice?
It means they work in short cycles, iterations. They adapt really quickly to changing needs or feedback.
So they're not locked into a rigid plan.
Exactly. They can pivot, adjust as they go. Businesses also talk about having an agile strategy,
Meaning,
meaning their overall approach lets them respond fast and effectively if the market shifts or customer needs change. It's kind of the opposite of being slow and bureaucratic.
can you give us a couple of sentence examples?
Sure. The company adopted an agile development methodology to ensure they could quickly incorporate user feedback.
Okay, emphasizes speed and response.
Right. Or, more metaphorically, her agile mind allowed her to grasp complex concepts rapidly.
So mental quickness and flexibility there.
Precisely.
So agile generally has these positive vibes, right? Efficiency, adaptability.
Definitely. It suggests being effective in a changing environment.
Are there synonyms? Words like nimble?
Yeah, nimble, supple, flexible, responsive. They all touch on similar ideas, but agile often adds that layer of being proactive.
Proactive.
Yeah, like actively maneuvering, staying ahead. It's not just being able to bend, it's about dynamically changing direction.
Okay, agile, quick, adaptable, proactive change.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, next up, a word that's super important for clear communication. Nuance.
Nuance. Yes, this is all about subtlety.
Subtlety.
A subtle difference, a delicate shade of meaning or feeling or even expression. It's recognizing that things aren't always just black and white.
Why is understanding nuance so critical?
Well, it's fundamental, really, for communication to be effective. If you can recognize nuance, you grasp the whole message, right? Including what's maybe implied, not just stated outright.
Reading between the lines.
Kind of, yeah. And in understanding different cultures, being attuned to nuances can stop misunderstandings, build better connections. And just when taking in information, news, research, whatever, appreciating nuance helps us avoid oversimplifying complex issues, seeing beyond just the surface level.
Could you give an example? Like, show how a small wording change introduces nuance and alters the meaning.
Okay, sure. Take a simple statement. The proposal was rejected.
Pretty clear. Final.
Right. Now compare that to the proposal was not enthusiastically received.
Ah, okay. Different feel.
Big difference, right?
Yeah.
It still implies rejection, probably, but it introduces nuance. Maybe it wasn't outright dismissal, just a lack of strong support. The first is stark. The second leaves room for interpretation, hints at underlying feelings.
Yeah, I see that.
Or another one, he seemed bored, versus he seemed slightly disinterested.
Slightly. That's the key.
Exactly. That word slightly introduces a degree, a subtle shade. It wasn't total apathy, just a bit of disinterest. Understanding these small variations is crucial to getting the real message, avoiding misinterpretation.
Those examples really show how much can hinge on just one or two words.
Yeah.
It really is about those finer details.
Precisely. Paying attention to the layers in language and meaning.
Okay. Nuance those subtle shades. Great. Our next word is one we hear a lot when talking about facing challenges.
Resilience.
Resilience. Yeah, this is about recovery. The ability to recover quickly from, difficulties, setbacks, adversity.
Bouncing back.
Essentially, yeah. The capacity to bounce back when things get tough.
And it's not just personal, right? We hear resilience used more broadly.
Oh, absolutely. We talk about personal resilience, sure, someone's ability to cope with stress. But we also apply it to businesses. Can they withstand an economic downturn, a market disruption? That's business resilience.
And even ecosystems. Ecologists talk about the resilience of a forest or a coral reef, its ability to recover from a fire or pollution or climate change impacts.
So it's this underlying strength that lets a system, person, company, ecosystem weather the storm.
Exactly. And importantly, it's not just about surviving the setback, it's about having the capacity to recover and maybe even learn and grow from it.
Right. So what helps build resilience, whether it's in a person or, say, a company?
Well, it's usually a mix of things, often interconnected. For a person, it might be strong social support, a positive outlook, adaptability, good coping skills.
Okay.
For a business, maybe having diverse operations helps. Strong financial reserves, a company culture that doesn't freak out about change.
Adaptability again.
Yeah. And in ecosystems, biodiversity often boosts resilience. More species means the system might have more ways to adapt if something goes wrong. It's about having resources, internal and external, to absorb shocks and then regenerate.
So it seems like a really vital quality no matter the context, not just enduring, but recovering, moving forward.
That's it. It's not about never facing difficulties that's impossible, usually. It's about having the strength, the strategies to navigate them and maybe come out stronger. Some people even talk about bouncing forward, not just back.
Bouncing forward. I like that. Learning and adapting through it.
Exactly.
Okay. Our next word is about connection. About understanding others. Empathy.
Empathy, yes. This is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person.
Understand and share. So putting yourself in their shoes.
Pretty much, yeah. Experiencing their emotions to some extent as if they were your own. It's deeper than just recognizing how they feel. It's about feeling with them.
Why is empathy seen as so important? Personally, societally?
Well, it's just fundamental for strong relationships. Personal, professional, community.
Yeah.
All of them. Empathy builds connection, trust, understanding, compassion. In leadership. It's crucial for motivating people, supporting teams, and more broadly, in society, empathy can fuel things like social justice. It helps foster that sense of shared humanity, leading to maybe more equitable outcomes.
Now, we often hear empathy and sympathy used together. Are they the same thing?
Good question. They're related, but definitely not the same.
Okay.
Sympathy is more like feeling for someone. You feel sorry for their misfortune, maybe pity.
Right.
Empathy is feeling with them. It's about trying to truly understand and, yeah, share their emotional experience from their point of view. It takes a deeper level of emotional connection.
So sympathy is like acknowledging from the outside, maybe.
Yeah,
While empathy is stepping inside their experience.
that's a good way to put it. Sympathy can be felt at a distance. Empathy requires trying to really get into their shoes, feel what they're feeling.
That distinction feels really important.
No.
Okay, empathy it is. Let's shift focus now to frameworks, models. The word is paradigm.
Paradigm, okay. This refers to a typical example or pattern of something. It's like a model, a framework for understanding.
A set of assumptions.
Exactly. A set of assumptions that shapes how we see things, how we interpret things within a particular field or context. You could call it the dominant way of thinking about something at a given time.
And we often hear about paradigm shifts. What does that mean?
A paradigm shift is a really big deal. It's a fundamental change in the basic concepts, the core principles, the practices of a whole field.
Like science or technology?
Yeah, or even just our general understanding of the world. It's a radical change in those underlying beliefs or assumptions that define a way of thinking. Not just a minor tweak, it's a complete overhaul of the existing framework.
Can you give some classic examples? Historical paradigm shifts.
Oh, sure. Think about the Copernican revolution in astronomy.
Earth not being the center of the universe.
Exactly. The shift from that geocentric view, Earth at the center, to the heliocentric view with the sun at the center, that was a massive paradigm shift. It totally changed our understanding of the cosmos. Or in physics, quantum mechanics, Einstein's relativity, that was a huge shift away from classical Newtonian physics.
Right.
Even in business, you could argue, the move from traditional stores to e-commerce was a kind of paradigm shift in how we buy and sell things. These shifts often face resistance at first, but eventually they lead to a completely new way of seeing and doing things.
So when a paradigm shifts, it's not just adjusting the old model. It's throwing it out and replacing it with something fundamentally different.
That's the idea. It's like getting a new pair of glasses, a new lens. That changes how you see everything related to that subject. It leads to big changes in theories, practices, beliefs.
Got it. Paradigm. Okay, next word. This one is about working together. Synergy.
Synergy. Yeah, this describes when the interaction or cooperation of different parts, could be people, companies, elements, produces a combined effect that's greater than just adding up the separate parts.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly that. It's the idea that when things work together well, the combined result is more powerful, more effective than if those parts just acted alone, like a multiplier effect.
Where do we typically see synergy working?
Teamwork is a classic example. You bring together people with different skills, different perspectives, different experiences. If they collaborate effectively, what they achieve together can be way beyond what any one of them could do solo.
Makes sense.
You also see it in business partnerships. Two companies, maybe they have complementary strengths, they team up, and the combined entity is stronger, more competitive than either one was on its own.
Okay.
Even in nature, right? Think about an ecosystem. Different species interact, and those interactions create a balanced, thriving environment that's more robust because of the interplay.
So it's not just 1 + 1 = 2, it's like 1 + 1 = 3 or more.
Exactly. It's not just additive, it's multiplicative. The interaction itself creates something extra, a greater overall outcome.
Synergy. Okay. Our next word describes something that feels, well, everywhere these days. Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous, yes. Means present, appearing, or found everywhere.
Everywhere.
Pretty much. It describes something so widespread it seems to be all around us, almost inescapable.
What are some prime examples of things that have become truly ubiquitous now?
Well, smartphones are the obvious one,
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
They're not a luxury anymore. They're just there in almost everyone's pocket or hand globally. The internet itself
Ubiquitous for sure.
permeates nearly everything we do, personally, professionally. Think about Wi-Fi. It's increasingly ubiquitous: homes, cafes, airports, public spaces, constant connectivity.
Yeah, social media, too.
I'd say so, yeah. Social media platforms have reached a level of ubiquity in how many people communicate, share information, form groups.
And there's this concept, ubiquitous computing. What's that about?
That's looking ahead, really. Ubiquitous computing envisions a future where computing power is seamlessly woven into our everyday environment.
So computers everywhere, but hidden.
Kind of invisible, yeah.
Yeah.
Embedded in appliances, clothes, infrastructure, constantly sensing, processing, interacting with the world in subtle ways. Think smart homes, wearable tech. Those are maybe early steps towards that.
So ubiquitous really captures that feeling of being omnipresent, deeply integrated into our lives.
Exactly. Something you almost can't avoid because it's just part of the fabric of the world around us now.
Okay. Penultimate word. This one takes a broader view. Holistic.
Holistic, right. This describes an approach that looks at wholes, at complete systems, rather than just analyzing the individual parts in isolation.
Seeing the bigger picture.
Exactly. It emphasizes how interconnected things are, how interdependent the different elements within a system are.
Where do we see holistic approaches used?
Healthcare is a common one. A holistic approach to health considers the whole person: physical, mental, emotional, social, maybe even spiritual well-being, not just focusing on one symptom or one body part.
Right.
In education, a holistic approach might aim to develop the whole child: character, creativity, social skills, not just academic knowledge.
Makes sense.
And in problem solving, taking a holistic view means considering all the tangled factors contributing to a problem, not just tackling the surface symptoms separately.
So it's about understanding that the pieces connect, and to really get something, you need to see how they all interact.
Precisely. Recognizing that the whole is often more than just the sum of its parts, and understanding those relationships between the parts is key.
Holistic. Got it. And finally, our 10th essential word for today. Iterative.
Iterative. Okay, this describes a process involving iteration, which just means repetition, a sequence of repeated steps or cycles.
Repeating steps.
Yeah, but usually with a purpose. Each repetition, each cycle builds on the one before it. The goal is typically to gradually refine or improve something over time through these successive passes.
Where do we see iterative processes most often?
Software development is a really prime example.
Like with Agile.
Exactly. They often go together. Software is frequently built in iterative cycles. You make a basic version, get feedback, then improve it, add features in the next iteration, and so on.
Yeah.
Design processes too: products, services, even art, often iterative. You create a prototype, you test it, you refine it based on what you learn, and repeat. Continuous improvement. Even just learning a new skill, right? That's often iterative. You try something, you see how it went, you get feedback, you adjust, you try again, getting a little better each time.
So it's this idea of improving step by step through cycles of doing and refining.
Precisely. Each iteration is a chance to learn and adjust, leading towards a better final outcome. Progress through incremental steps.
Wow. Well, we've certainly covered some ground today. Generative, agile, nuance, resilience, empathy, paradigm, synergy, ubiquitous, holistic, and iterative.
10 words, yeah. And it's quite remarkable how they really do touch on so many key ideas shaping things right now.
Absolutely. Having a good grasp of these really gives you, the listener, a powerful toolkit, doesn't it, for understanding the conversations and information flying around.
It really does.
So maybe here's a takeaway for everyone listening. This week, try to consciously notice these words. When you're reading, when you're listening, see how they're used.
Yeah, pay attention to the context, and maybe even try using them yourself, where it feels natural in your own conversations or writing.
Because language isn't static, is it?
Not at all. It's alive, it breathes, it evolves constantly to capture new realities, new ideas.
And embracing that evolution, keeping our vocabulary growing, it helps us understand better, connect better.
Definitely strengthens our ability to communicate effectively.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into these 10 words. We really hope it's offered some valuable insights.
It was a pleasure, and hopefully useful for everyone tuning in.
We'll be back soon with more linguistic explorations.
And just remember, learning and understanding. It's always an ongoing journey.
Indeed. Okay, one final thought to leave you with. Just consider how understanding, maybe even one of these words more deeply, say, Resilience or synergy or nuance might subtly shift how you look at a challenge you're facing right now, or maybe an opportunity you're thinking about. Something to mull over.
Good thought.
Until our next deep dive.